Now I gotta decide if I'm keeping that.
Hey, thanks for joining the Escape With Me Book Club's Patreon. You paid $1 to listen to this episode. Thanks.
$1 or more.
And if you paid more, thanks. We appreciate that a lot. Escape with me, Lizzie Sawyer.
And I'm Sam Ryder.
Into our most recent read. Come with us as we evade reality and discuss the differences between a book and its movie. We're going to be discussing both from beginning to end, so remember, there will be spoilers.
Today we are exploring The Wizard of Oz, both the book and the movie. Originally published in 1900, The Wizard of Oz was a response to the fact that L. Frank Baum felt that the children's literature of the day was too violent and morally overt. He wanted instead to give children a world of creativity, a wonderland where anything was possible. Considered a modern fairy tale, it portrays its heroine, named after Baum's own niece, as lovable but assertive, and sees her problem solve and befriend many people and creatures. It captured the imaginations of millions and has seen many adaptations on stage and in film, but none as prominent as the 1939 adaptation done by MGM Studios. With its notoriety nowadays eclipsing the book series, let's see how it stacks up to the classic. It doesn't. Oh, they're two completely different stories almost.
I mean, you can see the similarities, but there are a lot of significant differences.
Oh yeah, it's not like a lot of other books and movies that we've watched and you're like, why did you buy the title? It's not like that, because it definitely is The Wizard of Oz. It takes place in Oz. It has all the same characters.
From reading the book, you can definitely see why they took out a bunch of stuff that they took out, and when you learn a lot of the background from the movie, you can understand why they made some of the changes that they made.
Oh yeah.
So I mean, I think that most of the changes they made were understandable for the movie.
Yeah.
But some of them are maybe you didn't necessarily have to do that.
So it starts from the very beginning, and the movie plays really, really hard into it was all a dream.
Yep. You got knocked out.
Yeah, the book is like, no, you went to Oz.
It was real.
There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. You went.
Oz is real.
Oz is real.
I mean, the amount we don't know about the middle of deserts or the middle of forests, maybe. I don't know. You always get turned around. It's like in Harry Potter where they have the magical fields that you just kind of get directed around, so you can't actually go there, but you don't realize you're not actually going there.
Yeah. And in a world before satellite, I'm sure it was very interesting.
Yeah.
Now we're boring. We know too much. It's boring.
Yeah, but at the same time, with the amount that we know, it's even more terrifying when people go missing in big forests or deep ocean water that we can't actually see anything down there. Don't really know what's down there. The ocean is enormous. It's terrifying.
That's true. So yeah, and so from the very beginning of the movie, it introduces a bunch of new characters and 3 farmhands.
Yes, that are supposed to represent the Scarecrow, the Tin Man, and the Lion. And it's the actors that play the Scarecrow, the Tin Man, and the Lion.
They have the evil neighbor who wants the dog because the dog is annoying.
The dog needs to be destroyed, apparently. It bit me. It needs to be destroyed.
And then she has the random dude with a crystal ball. After reading the book, I've obviously known the movie longer than I have known the book. But going back and specifically reading the book and then reading the movie, the amount they stretched so they could introduce all of these main characters beforehand was kind of funny.
Yes.
But I do think it's kind of interesting. In the movie, they completely cut this out. In the book, it's a little bit of a slice of life because they mention that Auntie M is a mail order bride. And that is actually something that happened during that time period. If you were a farmer in the middle of nowhere, there would be these women from the East that are looking for husbands, and you would just be like, that one, and write to them, and then they would come out to your farm and you'd get married.
Yep. You'd be like, yo, you want to get hitched?
This was farmers only before internet. So I think that was interesting when I read it this time, knowing what I know now, because as a kid, you know, that flies over your head. You're like, okay, cool. Also, the storm shelter was in the house instead of being a random location away from the house.
Hole in the ground. Yeah.
That was interesting.
Yeah. I mean, I get it.
Oh yeah, it's way more dramatic for the movie for her to be running all the way over there. And it would make less sense.
Yeah, it makes more sense to have that further away from the house.
Yeah, so it's like, oh no, she has to take shelter in the house. And then she runs into the house, where that one, it's like, oh, Toto, I need to get Toto. And then the house just goes whoop. there she go.
There she go.
So they make it to Oz, and it's true in both that she kills the Wicked Witch of the East with the house, and the Wicked Witch of the East is super mean to the Munchkins.
Glinda comes down in her bubble, and I'm like, oh, look, it's the wrong witch. She comes out and I'm like, I am Glinda, the witch of the north. And I'm like, nope, you're the witch of the south.
Honey, you confused.
Also, why aren't you wearing white? And I know why she's not wearing white. It's because it's one of the first Technicolor movies, and so they wanted all the colors to be very vibrant and whatnot. But you should be wearing white.
It's very sparkly.
She also seems really vague. Really extra vague.
Oh, yeah, because, okay, so this is the first plot hole. Because obviously there are really small things like, oh, in the book they're silver shoes, but they're red in the movie because they wanted to really pop Technicolor, all that.
Yeah.
So there's a bunch of little things around there. And I also appreciated how in the book they're like, Kansas is gray. And that was kind of a black and white feel. And so you felt that.
Yeah.
But having Glinda from the very beginning introduces a plot hole in the movie that doesn't exist in the book.
Yup.
Because everyone around them is like, oh my goodness, you have gotten these shoes.
Don't know how those work, but dope. Yeah, they magic though, but
she definitely used them.
Yeah, those are magic. Yeah, I don't know how that works, but they're magic.
And then the Wicked Witch of the West wants them because she knows how to use them. And then Glinda knows how to use it, but she doesn't find Glinda until after the Wizard of Oz has gone off in his hot air balloon. And so then she's like, oh, this is how you use them. But in the movie, Glinda just shows up and is like, hey girl, got yourself some shoes. Why don't you go on this long adventure? And at the end, I'll tell you how they work.
That's nice. You should go talk to the wizard. I could have you sent home right now, but you should go talk to the wizard. Yeah, go talk to him. I could be helpful, but I'd rather not.
Why?
No particular reason.
It makes no sense. And even she comes at the end, she's like, oh, your shoes are magical. It's Glinda, this movie could have had a 30-minute runtime if you didn't do this for no reason whatsoever. Oh my gosh.
If we had a secondary witch.
That's the other thing I find really interesting in the book. Notice how only the pretty woman who isn't the size of a 7-year-old child has a name.
Yeah? Why didn't the other witch have a name? I've been here since day one and I still don't have a name.
So we get there, and I think another big change is they made the movie a musical.
Yes.
Which is interesting because up into the singing portion of this, they were actually considering Sherry Temple to be Dorothy until they had some of the music stuff. And then they were like, she's a really good dancer, she's a really good actress, but she doesn't have the vocal range that they need. And so Judy Garland was already under contract with MGM because this was a different time when actresses and actors were owned by their studios.
Yep.
Which is just... there's a reason it's not done like that anymore. But she was in a movie just the year before, and she has shown really great dancing and singing and acting, and so they contracted her for the role of Dorothy, which is really weird. Judy Garland was 16, and Dorothy is 10, so they tried all this stuff with her makeup to make her look younger, and then they gave her this really uncomfortable corset because she's a 16-year-old, so she has a chest, but a prepubescent child does not.
Yep.
So they did that, and an interesting thing, this movie has had 5 directors. There are 5 directors on this movie.
Wow.
It's a revolving door and it's weird. But the very first director wanted her to have blonde hair, like in the book, and so gave her a wig and stuff and different makeup. And the producers were like, I see where you're going with all this. You just don't have the right look for Oz. This is nah. And so they kicked him out. So that's some stuff about Dorothy. We'll get into probably more of the sad things that Judy Garland had to go through with this later. Let's save the depressing stuff for later. A good at least 30 minutes in, you know?
You want to get at least 30 minutes in? What?
So the Munchkins are actually a troupe. They're called the Singing Munchkins because their manager was named Sing, not because they actually sang. Actually, most of their stuff was dubbed because they were from Europe, and a lot of them were Jewish in this time period, coming from Germany, so it was great for them to come over, but not so great also because American Depression and the dog was getting paid double what they were getting paid. Not great.
Were any of the Munchkins actually children?
Some of them were. There are a couple of shots where you can see be actual children, but they're really young. But no, any of the ones doing the singing, sorry, not the singing, the lip syncing and the dancing.
Yeah.
I think the only one who actually kept his voice is the one with the flowers that give flowers to Dorothy. I think they were the only ones with their actual voice in the movie. But then we get to your favorite part of the movie.
I want to know where the red brick road goes. If I ever ended up in that situation, they'd be like, follow the yellow brick road. And I'd be like, okay, cool. I'll do that. Where does the red one go?
Quadling Country.
Yeah, probably.
Although it doesn't really make sense for the yellow one to be going toward Oz. I mean, shouldn't that go to Winky Country?
Yeah, I mean, if you mix yellow and blue together, you get green.
True.
That being said, there was not enough blue in Munchkinland.
Oh, no. That was actually the funny thing going through is there's no blue in here.
The coroner wore blue.
Oh my gosh. Oh dear. And obviously, like I said, this was one of the first Technicolor movies. It's supposed to be impressive, but it was seriously, they went out of their way to not use blue.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Oh, I remember. This is also in the movie where we meet the Wicked Witch.
Yes.
Yay! So, fun fact about this movie. The whole reason this movie got made was because of Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. Disney had a fun time doing that and was like, hey, this needs to happen. So he really was a proponent pushing for it. But they were gonna make the Wicked Witch of the West look like the evil queen and kind of make her seductive and sexy.
No.
There are actually makeup shots of this other actress that they cast as the Wicked Witch of the West in sexy makeup looking a lot like the evil queen. But then the studio pushed back and was like, no, she's an evil witch. Evil witches can't be pretty.
Yeah, they can.
And so they tried to give that one actress a very frumpier look to make her look less attractive, but she was like, I don't want to look ugly. And so in comes our Wicked Witch of the West.
And she's dope.
She is. She was a former kindergarten teacher.
Dope.
Turned actress, who was also a very, very nice Judy Garland, and they were like best friends on set, which is very cute. But yeah, she read the books and was a huge Oz fan. And so as soon as she heard that, she was like, yes, I am down. What am I doing? And they were like, the Wicked Witch of the West.
You're gonna be ugly.
But she was down. She was ready. She was also a single mom at the time. So there's a whole thing about how she was like, I need you to promise I have at least 6 weeks of work. But they ended up using her for 23 weeks because this movie... crazy. But other fun fact about her disappearance, that's where she's standing somewhere, she ducks out away where fire comes up. They shot it once, it went great. They were like, let's do it a second time. And the second time, her broom caught on fire.
Oh.
And to compound that, the green makeup that they used had copper in it.
Oh, no.
To the point where every night she already had to take it off completely and she couldn't eat solid food because they didn't want the makeup to go into her mouth. But as anyone knows, fire and copper go together very well. So that's where you hear it's like, oh, the Wicked Witch of the West got burned, 2nd and 3rd degree burn. That's the scene. It took her 3 months to recover to go back to shooting. Oof, it was bad. So that's where that scene is. I've heard that before and I've never been like, well, where is that scene? That's the scene. Like I said, this movie is cursed.
Nope.
Also from the fact that there were so many laws and policies now to protect actors and to make that their number one priority. But this is 1939. We did not have those. So a lot of bad things happened on set. Seriously, the guy who ended up playing the Tin Man, Jack Haley, someone was like, hey, wasn't it fun being on the set of Wizard of Oz? He was like, no, this was not fun at all. No one had fun.
This was not an enjoyable experience.
No. But we go along. The Scarecrow scene's actually pretty faithful. All 3 times when she meets a companion, it's about right. And their song kind of gets across what's going on.
Yeah, it's about right.
I do like the Scarecrow song better than the Tin Man and the Cowardly Lion. It's my favorite.
I like the Tin Man song a lot.
It's good, but I don't know. There's something about him just flapping around that's just like super fun. But I think by the time you get to the Cowardly Lion song, you've heard it 3 times, and so you're not really expecting anything. And he doesn't do anything zany.
Nope.
He just kind of holds his tail.
I'm just a coward. And we're like, we know, we're aware.
Which it's kind of funny in the book. They're like, how dare you be a coward for jumping out and yelling at people? And then later on, they're like, you know what isn't cowardly? Killing someone in their sleep. He kills the spider creature in its sleep and then comes back and is like, I am the bravest out of all of you.
When the Tin Man, who's like, I couldn't possibly kill a living thing, promptly kills
Oh my gosh.
several lions and
Oh my gosh. Everything.
and the weird tiger things. But I couldn't possibly cries over killing a bug, but you know, that's different.
Oh my gosh. The Tin Man's homicidal tendencies are well known.
It's fine if I'm protecting my friends.
When Frank Baum was like, I want to make something less violent because all of this today is too violent for the children. And you have this homicidal maniac running around, beheading people.
But cries when he steps on a bug.
And gets so mad at that one creature where it's like, how dare you harm a leather living creature? Promptly kills living creature.
Do they not count as living in your book?
No, it's a carnivore. They don't count.
They do though.
Yeah, the Tin Man makes no sense.
Jeez.
There's one time he gets sad about killing a bug, and then he saves the rat royalty. But everything else is gonna die.
Everything else is gonna die.
Screw the bees.
Screw the bees.
No one liked you anyway. And just that whole scene where the Wicked Witch of the West looks out and can see the pile of corpses.
Multiple times.
Oh my gosh, and I just think about it. This is a children's book.
Yep.
This would be nowadays like a 10-year-old's book, I feel like. I couldn't sit down with my 5-year-old and be like, okay, sweetie, we're gonna go to a trip to a magical place where people get beheaded and strange creatures throw their own heads. Ha ha! It's gonna be great. All right, bye, sweetie. Have a good night. Don't let the bed bite.
Or the Tin Man. Don't let the Tin Man get you.
Oh my gosh. So the movie takes out all of that.
It's like being scared of Santa Claus. It's a very similar thing. It's like a big scary old man comes into my house in the middle of the night and he knows when I'm sleeping and he knows when I'm awake. The Tin Man's gonna cut my head off.
Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. Yeah, so the movie cuts all of that out. Probably for the best. They didn't have a rating system back in the day, but I'm sure public outcry would have been enough.
Oh yeah.
Oh my goodness. And they needed people to come see this because do you know what the final budget for this movie was?
No.
In 1939, the end of the Depression, right?
Mm-hmm.
$2.8 million.
Ooh, that's a lot.
Let's get a conversion real quick. Okay, 1939 money to today. Okay, so we are looking at if they were going to spend this today, considering the middle of a depression of some sort. We have 53.7 billion in today's money.
Ouchie.
So yeah, they really needed people to come watch this movie.
Oh yeah.
Or they were gonna be in trouble. Honestly, the producer almost got fired because he just kept spending money. And they were very close to being like, you need to stop. We're going to fire you. They didn't end up doing it. He stayed for the entire movie, but oof.
Oh no.
And you can see where it goes to, because all of those things, they're practical effects. That's makeup, that's puppetry, that's super careless pyrotechnics, but impressive pyrotechnics nonetheless. And things like creating the tornado, they did that. That was a practical effect. And they did all of it on studio. The only time they ever went on location was there's a shot in the beginning of Kansas where you see the sky. That's it. Everything else was done in the studio. So they had to make all that stuff.
That's a lot.
So it's a very impressive movie from that standpoint. Beside the fact that the costuming and makeup was toxic and some of the practical effects, it's still a very impressive movie. For example, you know the poppy scene?
Mm-hmm.
It took 24 artists a week to hand make all of those poppies. That's a level of detail you just do not get anymore. Because we have other things that can do it. And probably wouldn't be a great use of time nowadays, but that's still something really impressive. That being said, you know the snow on the poppy effect?
Yes.
That was asbestos.
Oh. How nice.
I don't remember what the exact compound is, but it had quite a bit of asbestos. They actually had to cover them with something
Oh my god.
so that they wouldn't be affected by it.
It's just... Oh.
This movie. I love talking about this movie because it's actually insane.
Yeah, it's bonkers.
Just what?
Yeah.
So anyway, talking about book again and mentioning another movie that we didn't end up comparing this to, but just a quick reference. The Wiz was actually very faithful as well. And I especially prefer The Wiz for the wizard scene when they first meet him, because they do have that whole, it's a beautiful lady, it's a scary monster, it's a ball of, like all of that, which I'm kind of sad that they miss in the movie because they just make them the floating head, but it's like this dude with a weird head shape and then a lot of fire, which is scary for a child.
It's a ball of head.
It's a green head that's very weirdly shaped, kind of looks like a dinosaur.
Yes.
And a lot of fire. But at the same time, I can't blame him either, because who actually would have the patience to wait 4 days so all 4 of them can walk in there to be told the exact same thing?
Not me. I'm the sort of person I'd walk in and I'd be like, let me guess. I have to go melt the witch.
I mean, honestly, by the time you get to the 3rd one, it's like, I have an idea what's happening. But then by the time you got to the cowardly, I mean, he's cowardly, so he wouldn't have. But come on, what were you expecting? I don't even know if it's worth asking at that point.
I'm just gonna take a shot in the dark here. You want me to kill the Witch of the West, right?
Which I'm honestly so curious. In the book, it mentions that the wizard was fighting off the Wicked Witch of the West, and the only reason she was able to win is because she had control of the flying monkeys.
Right.
What did he do? I mean, he's just normal dude from Omaha, Nebraska. What is he doing?
Running away.
Apparently.
People said, oh, that's a wizard. And she went, oh, that's a threat. And he was like, I'm not, really.
I'm just gonna come for you. Like, high off his ego, convinced his own self. But, like, she has actual magic. You definitely didn't need the monkeys. You didn't know that. But I do love that the wizard isn't asking them to kill her because she's a magical being. She has flying monkeys.
She has flying monkeys. Get rid of it.
You can handle that. What actual magical creatures? Uh-oh. I just think about that. I'm like, what honestly were you doing to be scary?
Word of mouth. It's just word of mouth. People were like, yo, wizard. And the witch was like, yo, what? I'm sorry. He's a what now? I gotta nip that in the bud.
Went 0 to 60.
Gotta get rid of that right now.
I can understand how he convinced a bunch of people. It's like, oh, I'm magical. Build me this castle.
I'm magical. I floated down in this balloon. Make me your king.
But how in the world did he have enough of an army to be scary? He didn't.
I'm scary. No, you're not.
Oh no, the evil monkeys have come to pick you up and carry you to an inconvenient location. Dang it.
I'm sorry, am I the only one that's in the back? Every time we talk about the monkeys, my brain goes, hey, we're the monkeys.
We pick up stuff and monkey around.
Yep.
We're too busy swinging the Tin Man into the ground.
Oh.
We're just trying to be friendly.
I opened a door and I could not close.
The monkeys' #1 fan right here. I can make references all day. I have 4 of their albums on vinyl. We're there. That was actually a very scary scene. Not in like I was physically scared, but that was so sad when they picked up the Tin Man and threw him into the rocks below and then destroyed the Scarecrow and then kidnapped Dorothy and the lion. That would be a lot for the movie. That was a lot.
It is a lot.
But it also made me question what part of the Scarecrow is sentient.
I'm willing to bet the head.
Because also I couldn't find out because they mentioned the clothes and they picked that up and then they're able to put straw in him again. But how are you sentient?
So if we were to look at it like Full Metal Alchemist, right? Now hear me out. The suit, the people that have their souls put in the suits of armor, they make it really obvious that the soul is connected to the seal in the armor. So if you were to, in theory, be broken down to a strip of metal with just the seal on it, which does happen, that is where you are. You only have that strip of metal. That's it, right? I think the Scarecrow, it's his head.
It has to be something with his clothes or something. But and then another part of me is like, how did you become sentient in the first place? Because the crows make it seem like not all scarecrows are sentient. We go out of our way to give Tin Man a super long backstory about how he turned to tin piece by piece.
Nah, he's just a scarecrow. It's all good. He just is.
But we're just gonna give him, oh, we painted a face on a bag and put straw on him, and then a crow said, you need a brain.
Yup, he's alive now. That's how this works. He just is.
And then I can't. Would they put, like, brain and nails in the scarecrow's head?
No, it was needles and fennel seeds.
Oh yeah, to make them sharp.
Yeah.
The poor illustrator for the rest of the book is having to illustrate little pinpricks in it.
It's like your head is lumpy now.
Which just brings so many more questions. And I mean, I know that the wizard was like, dude, obviously you're smart. You don't even need a brain. But I just thought it was really funny. At the end, he's like, I know I'm a humbug. And I've totally invented that you're super smart now. But I'm going to put you in charge and tell everyone you're a genius.
I mean, he is really smart, though.
He is. He needed confidence in himself, just like the rest of them did.
Here, take it. Use the brain that you actually have that is actually in there. That is.
I liked the movie's version better when they just gave him a diploma.
Bam, you're smart. Have a diploma to prove it.
That's my favorite one. Wasn't it like a paper heart? No, it was more like a metal. The heart.
It was a pocket watch.
Yeah.
It's ticking.
Oh my gosh. I can't remember what he gave the lion now for some reason.
He gave the lion. I just watched that movie, but I was downstairs printing tax document stuff during that part of the movie, so I missed it.
I don't remember. In the book, he gives him a potion, which I thought was very clever. That was clever. Humbug. Okay.
Yes, it was.
I honestly, for the life of me, cannot remember what he did in the movie. I don't know. It doesn't matter. It was ridiculous no matter what. But we can start talking about the characters and the costuming and the amazing makeup again. So, fun fact, the Tin Man, Jack Haley, was the third person cast as the Tin Man.
Oh, wow.
So originally, the guy who played the Scarecrow, Ray Bolger, and he was slated to play the Tin Man. And the person that was supposed to play the Scarecrow was Buddy Ebsen. Buddy Ebsen became super famous later, but the original Tin Man's makeup had aluminum in it. And so Buddy Ebsen, so he was supposed to be the Scarecrow, then he switched to the Tin Man, and then the Tin Man's makeup had aluminum, and it was so bad that the aluminum completely coated his lungs.
Oh.
And he had to go to the hospital, and he could no longer be in the film. To his dying day, he hated the movie.
Yeah, that's understandable.
Because it was his first big chance, and they did this to him. It was so bad for the rest of his life. He had breathing problems.
Hey, wasn't it fun being on the set? So fun.
So round 2 with Jack Haley, they learned from their mistakes and they didn't put aluminum in his makeup.
That's nice. Oh, geez.
And then you have poor Bert Lara over there. Thankfully, he wasn't hospitalized for his BS, but his costume was 90 pounds.
Oh, wow.
Because they made it out of actual lion pelts.
Oh, no.
It was so bad, and he was sweating so much on the set that could get to 100 degrees that every day when he took it off, the crew people had to dry and clean it every day.
That explains why it slowly gets rattier and rattier the further you get into the movie.
Yeah.
Also, you didn't need to use real lion. What the lions ever do to you?
Nah. 2.8 million. We gotta do this. Furs were still very much the thing.
Yeah, I know, but it's still wrong.
So that was great. In fact, the Scarecrow, the Tin Man, and the Lion would have arguments about whose costume was worse.
I don't blame them.
It was so bad that they got banned from the MGM cafeteria because other crew and actors were scared of them.
No.
They had to eat in their dressing rooms.
Y'all can't eat here anymore.
Compounded on the fact that, like I said, poor Margaret Hamilton with her copper makeup had to have a liquid diet on set because they were so scared of her ingesting copper. The makeup work for this movie. Oh my goodness, it was so bad.
The further you go into this, the more I'm like, I'm never watching this movie ever again.
I'm just saying, when Jack Haley was like, this was not a fun movie, there is a reason this is not a fun movie. But actually, I think we're far enough in. We can talk about poor Judy Garland. If you really want a reason that you never want to watch this movie ever again, the producers decided the perfectly skinny 16-year-old weighed too much and would actively call her a fat piggy in pigtails.
Oh, yay.
And then forced her to have a diet of chicken noodle soup, black coffee, and cigarettes, and diet pills.
How fun. Yeah, that's...
which this began at 16 years old. A lifelong struggle she had with dieting pills to keep herself to the proper weight of what the studios wanted from her. Because once again, the studio owns you at this point in time. And eventually led to her untimely death at the age of 47 due to an overdose on drugs. So that's just the little nugget of greatness right there. This movie killed Judy Garland.
That's wonderful.
Oh my gosh. Her entire life is just so sad. She's so talented and so wonderful and so kind. And the things that the studio were allowed to make her do, like they forced her to marry certain people because it would look good for publicity. And then she wasn't allowed to have kids at certain times. So they would make her have abortions. It's just, so bad. But yeah, this is the runner-up basically for Best Motion Picture of that year. And that's the weird thing. You get into the nitty-gritty of this, and the back part of this movie is terrible, but the movie itself is still amazing. What the crap? And these poor actors and actresses. But let's get into some lighter-hearted trivia, why don't we? So, remember how I said there were 5 directors?
Yes.
Okay, this movie lost out Best Picture of the Year to Gone with the Wind.
Okay.
And not only do they have a connection that way, but good luck keeping up with this because it's very confusing. The third director of Wizard of Oz left Wizard of Oz to do Gone with the Wind. And so the fourth director came in and did almost everything. There was a bunch of Kansas scenes still left to do that the fifth director ended up doing. But the fourth director then left Wizard of Oz to go to Gone with the Wind because the third director that had left Wizard of Oz had just left Gone with the Wind as well. So they were just trading directors at this point.
They're just passing them along the line. Oh, we got this director. You want him? Yeah, we'll take him. Oh, he's leaving. Can we have the one you have now? Yeah, take him. That's fine.
Oh my gosh, I'm looking at other trivia. I mean, this isn't super like, oh my gosh, how did that happen? But it was just the day of Judy Garland's death. There was a tornado in Kansas. And I mean, I feel like there's always a tornado in Kansas, but also still kind of creepy. But anyway, like I said, I was going to do lighthearted stuff. So we can talk about goofs and stuff. Like the fact that Glinda accidentally hits her hat with her wand and she almost loses her hat in one of her scenes.
That is amusing.
And that actually made it into the film, which I thought was kind of funny. And then the red shoes were actually really uncomfortable. So for every scene where you don't see the red shoes, Dorothy was just not wearing them. And she had these regular shoes instead. And so there's only one scene where you accidentally see it. It's when they're dancing around with the Tin Man. And very briefly, these other shoes come into the scene. And so you get to see that. And Toto was paid $125 a week.
We kill lions for this movie, but we're going to pay the dog that much?
Oh, yeah. Like I said, the singers, they were paid half as much per week as this dog was getting paid. I felt bad. Judy Garland at the end got so close to Toto that she wanted to adopt him, but the dog's owner was like, he's my dog. So she didn't get to adopt the dog.
Well, I mean, the dog has an owner.
Yeah. Toto did go on to live a very successful movie career.
That's good, at least, I guess.
I didn't look this up before. I'm curious what other things that dog has been in.
What else did you do, Toto?
Okay, so the dog is named Terry. Listen to this. Without question, the most known dog in movie history, many dogs tried to eclipse Toto's success. Most recently, the Men in Black dog. Most don't know that Toto has an autobiography that's available in most stores. She's almost lost her life when she broke her foot in The Wizard of Oz. That's true. Someone, I don't remember who, stepped on the dog's foot and the dog had to be in rehabilitation for a little bit. Terry the Third, I am being told, born 1993 and passed away at the age of 11. Oh, goodness. She has 21 actors credits. Goodness. That is a working dog. Other dogs have tried to eclipse Toto's success, but they have failed, including the Men in Black's dog, apparently.
That's weird.
Specifically that one.
But cool.
This movie, like everything in early Hollywood, has its dark side. Everything good is bad.
This is why we can't have nice things. Just kidding. This is why we have nice things.
And then at the end of the movie, Glinda comes back like I don't even know. What the heck, Glinda?
She's like, oh, by the way, You can just leave. Really, Glinda? You don't say.
Another fun fact. So they've wrapped up production, right?
Yeah.
It's 120 minutes.
Right.
And they're like, oof, that's really long. We're going to need to cut some stuff. And so for test audiences, they actually cut out Somewhere Over the Rainbow.
No.
Because they felt that it made it too slow. It slowed down the pace way too much. And for some reason, they ended up putting it back, which is good because the song became more popular than the movie. It was basically a single. So yeah, good. Yeah, keep that. But they ended up cutting out 20 minutes worth of stuff. And now its runtime is only like 100 minutes, I think. But yeah, so there's 20 minutes of footage out there that we could have had. But I just have random trivia about this movie. I was obsessed with the books, and so I became semi-obsessed with the movie, as you do.
Yup, that's totally normal.
Oh, the horses in Emerald City Palace were colored with Jello crystals.
Really?
Like I said, there's no CGI here, practical effects, but they ended up having to shoot the relevant scenes super quickly, otherwise the horses would lick it all off. Oh, another tie to Snow White. In the song If I Only Had a Heart, the girl who says, "Wherefore art thou, Romeo," is the voice of Snow White. She was paid $1,000 to say that one line.
Wow.
Oh my goodness. Which brings me to another part. The whole point in the book was the Tin Man wanted to marry this Munchkin girl.
He never actually does that.
What the heck? Tin Man? You just gotta go be in charge of Winky Country and completely forget the love of your life? I thought that was the point of having a heart.
I mean, he'd already fallen out of love with her.
Tisk. Oh, and one more injury. During the Haunted Forest scene, several actors playing the winged monkeys were injured when their piano wires snapped,
Ow.
dropping them several feet to the soundstage floor.
Come with me, and you'll be in a world of OSHA violations.
Anytime someone complains about OSHA, there's a reason we have this. But I think that's the end of my random trivia note. That's the only thing coming to my brain. So yeah, there's a reason why Jack Haley was like, stop asking me if that was fun, guys. No.
It wasn't fun. Leave me alone.
It was not a fun time. Even in normal, the set would get up to 100 degrees with all the lighting. Just that sounds miserable. Worker safety is important.
Yes. Very.
And now you have to decide whether or not you prefer the homicidal Tin Man or the magical world of OSHA violations.
I love me some magical world of OSHA violations.
This movie. And yeah, and I'm sure you could dig and find even worse stuff. But there is cool stuff where they talk about how they do some of the practical effects, like how they invented a tornado. That's pretty cool. A tornado on set that looked realistic. That's cool. It gave a lot of people in the Depression happiness. It did turn a profit. A lot of people are like, it was such a bomb. It made $3 million in box office, and then it got re-released 10 years later, and then it made a real profit. So a lot of people are like, it bombed. It didn't bomb. It just had a budget of $2.8 million. So yeah, it barely made a profit. This was the Depression, guys. No one had food. Why are they buying movie tickets? Because they wanted happiness, and that is what this movie provided.
Because disassociation.
Yeah, and for such a terrible year of life. Like 1939 is considered one of the best years for movies. Just production quality and stuff. It did provide them some happiness. And to this day, it's still a very popular movie. Like I said, it's more popular than the book series, which, fair. It's a little dated at this point. Only a little. For a book written 120 years ago, it is significantly less dated than some stuff that came out 10 years ago. It's had a very good shelf life. Got a lot of good information, got a lot of good ramblings. Thank you so much for supporting us on Patreon. If you would like to support us further, you can find us on Twitter, Instagram, or TikTok at EWM_book club. We post fun book content, and you might get a sneak peek on what's coming in next before we even announce it. Thank you so much for hanging out with us today. I'm Sam Reiner.
And I'm Lizzie Sawyer.
And we hope to see you and a friend here next time.